hard to hear me. Uh, okay, now that I got the YouTube page up, I will pull up where everybody should be. And give me 1 second. I had, okay, give me 1 sec. Share the page so we all know where we should be. Oops, hold on. Ink. Okay, let me stop. I forgot to click the video thing so you can hear me better. So many things to click. All right, I got the sound, I got the share. All right. All right. So what I said earlier was everybody should be on this page. We're starting the unit on clean air. And I also said that hopefully you finished your assignment on the LA fire, the effect on their air quality, because I try to always bring in, again, environmental science is a very relevant topic. It involves things that's going on around us now, every day, all the time. And so one of the things that is happening now, as far as air quality is concerned, are the fires, the constant fires in LA. And um, you have to keep in mind wind blows. So eventually, what is affecting the air quality there might end up affecting us as the air blows to the east. So things don't just happen in one spot. They have global effects, especially things like fires. So this is where everybody should be. And this is kind of a snippet. And I'll go ahead and show it.
Air pollution. When we hear this word, we tend to think of cities covered in smog, poisonous exhaust fumes, and the consequences for our health. The fine particles and gases do not only make people ill, they also influence the chemical and physical processes in the atmosphere, such as the formation of clouds. Sources of air pollution are not limited to traffic and industry. Burning biomass, too, results in a large quantity of polluted air. To research how
All right. That was just a clip it, and sometimes they cut things off just when it's getting here. But we're going to look at another video in a little while. But again, you should know the definition of air pollution. Definition is always, always important. So that is, so when you have particulates, biological molecules or other harmful materials in the Earth's atmosphere, which are capable of causing disease, death to humans, and damage to other living things such as crops or other natural built in the environment. Now, that means that when we have acid rain, so we're going to talk about things like acid rain, how we get that, how the particles in the air mix with the rain and they form acid. And when they fall to the ground, they fall on living things, they fall on buildings, and they cause damage. So this only happens in areas where air pollution is heavy. So we're going to look at primary pollution and secondary pollution. And then this one, I'm trying to get the full-length version of this. So while you are reading this over, I'm going to do the attendance. So take the next few minutes to read this page over. There's a lot on this page. All these vocabulary words we're going to take a look at and have activities for. So read this over. I'm going to do attendance.
Excuse me, Miss Harris.
Yes?
I can't find it.
Hello?
Lord.
You can't find which? The page?
Yeah.
This is in Canvas. You want me to put the link
Yes,
in the
please.
chat?
Yes, please.
Okay, I will do that. Okay. Oops, that's a long link. All right, it's in the chat. Let me know if that works for you. Um,
Yeah, it worked.
okay, good. All right, and anybody else who needed the link, who couldn't get to the Canvas page, there we are. This link is in the chat. All right, so read this page over. I'm going to do attendance and I'm going to come right back to you with a longer version of the video than that one because there's a lot involved so that it covers all of these vocabulary words. Okay. And again, this is the beginning, but always, let me try to get back to the previous page. Always look at the vocabulary list when we start a unit, the overview, so that you get a sense of um, the depth of the unit. So you got all of these vocabulary words. So take time to look at that as well. And while I'm here, let me show this other snippet. Okay. All right, so we've already done water in the last unit, and you saw what the effects of water is, where you might pollute an area in one place, and then the activity that you had, what happens when the pollution goes downstream? So it might not always originate from where you think. And the same thing with the air pollution. Like I said, it's happening in California now, but winds blow and the pollution will come this way. The same thing, it happened last year, it was Canada. They had wildfires and eventually it got down to Georgia where the sky was kind of dark and gloomy looking because the winds carried the smoke from the fires south, and we got a little bit of the particulates from the fire that happened in Canada. So the origin is not necessarily where all the effect stays. So again, look this over, and I'm going to do attendance, and I'll be right back with you. Ranch. Okay, everybody should be reading. Everybody should be looking at me. And again, I do attendance on from Go Guardian. So if I'm looking at you and you're not online, if you're using a different computer, please let me know. Because otherwise I might mark you absent and you're actually logged in. Aaron, is your computer still acting? No, it was Andre. You seem to have gotten yours. Aaron, is your computer all right? Okie dokie. Okay. All right. Like I said, the video on the page is abbreviated, so I got an additional video that I'd like for you all to look at the moment. All right, so take a break and let's watch this video, and then I'll let you get back to looking at the page with information.
Hi, and welcome to this overview of air pollution.
Oh, mine is glitching. Hopefully it'll catch itself. is buffering. It's a cold and rainy day.
Air pollution is a major public health issue. In this video, we'll discuss outdoor air pollution, what it is, types of pollutants, and sources. We'll also take a look at ways to reduce air pollution and talk about how air quality is monitored. We'll then talk about indoor air pollution, why it's a problem, sources of pollution, and ways to reduce it. But first, what is air pollution? Air pollution occurs when the air is contaminated with any chemical, physical, or biological agent. It is the world's largest environmental health risk, leading to millions of deaths around the world each year. Although anyone can be affected by air pollution, people who are most vulnerable include the elderly, children, and people with chronic lung or heart disease. Let's take a look at outdoor air pollution first. The outdoor air can be polluted by natural sources or human sources. Natural or biogenic sources of air pollution include pollen, bushfires, or dust from deserts. Pollution of the air from human sources, also called anthropogenic air pollution, is commonly due to industries, burning of fossil fuels, and the use of motor vehicles. There are hundreds of different types of air pollutants. Let's take a quick look at a few important ones. Particulate matter is a complex mixture of small particles and liquid droplets that are mainly from industry or motor vehicle exhausts. Dust storms or bushfires can also generate large amounts of PM. Particulate matter is classified according to the diameter of the particles. The health effects of particulate matter are mostly due to particles that are less than 10 micrometers in diameter. These particles can reach the deepest parts of the lungs and enter the bloodstream. Nitrogen dioxide is usually formed when fuel is burned at a high temperature. Common sources are the exhaust of motor vehicles, industry, power plants, and gas stovetops. Carbon monoxide is colorless and odorless and is formed when the carbon in fuel doesn't burn completely. The main source of carbon monoxide is motor vehicle exhausts, and therefore, carbon monoxide levels are very high in areas with heavy traffic congestion. Other sources include industry, incinerators, and bushfires. Sulfur dioxide is a gas that can be produced when sulfur-containing fuels are burnt during industrial processes like in power plants and refineries. Lead is produced mostly as a result of metal and ore processing. Motor vehicle exhaust used to be a major source of lead pollution. However, regulatory efforts to reduce lead in fuel has led to a massive reduction in lead emissions. Ozone is a gas that is not emitted directly to the air, but is formed as a result of sunlight acting on other chemicals in the air. Ground-level ozone is a pollutant, whereas ozone that occurs naturally in the upper atmosphere has a protective function. There are hundreds of other air pollutants that can lead to adverse health effects. Okay, so what are the health effects? Exposure to air pollution can result in a wide range of short and long-term health effects. The health effect will depend on factors like the type of pollutant, concentration, length of exposure, and individual characteristics of the person exposed to it. It can range from minor symptoms like irritation of the eyes, nose, and throat to more severe conditions like heart and lung disease or cancer. It can also lead to increased hospital admissions and an increase in death rates. In 2012, outdoor air pollution was estimated to have caused 3.7 million deaths around the world. In addition to causing health effects, air pollution can also lead to damage to property, reduced visibility, and have other effects on the environment, like acid rain. What can we do to reduce air pollution? Well, there are many different ways to reduce air pollution. These require the combined efforts of governments, industry, and individuals. For example, governments can take actions like developing standards, regulating the level of pollutants in the air, developing policies to reduce environmental impact of development, and using clean energy sources. Industry can take steps like reducing their emissions to the environment, taking measures to prevent pollution accidents, or developing technology to reduce emissions, like electric cars. At an individual level, reducing the reliance on fossil fuels can be achieved with actions like walking, using public transport, or choosing energy-efficient means of living and transportation. Let's have a look now at how air quality is monitored. Most countries have national laws and regulations to control air pollution. These usually set out air quality standards that must be adhered to. These standards are set out by each country and will depend on factors like technological feasibility, economic considerations, capacity for air quality management, political and social factors. These standards specify the concentration of a number of selected pollutants called criteria pollutants that are allowed in the air. A useful way to track air pollution against the national standards is a measure called the Air Quality Index, AQI. This is a simple numerical or color-coded representation of how clean the air is. There are different ways of calculating the AQI, but it's essentially a measure of what the level of a pollutant is compared to what the national standard is. Now that we've had a look at outdoor air pollution, let's have a look at indoor air pollution. Now, although the indoor air quality is affected by outdoor air, the quality of indoor air can be significantly different. This is because there could be many sources of indoor pollutants. The most common source of indoor pollution in the world is solid fuels, like wood, charcoal, dung, or crop waste that are used for cooking or heating. Around the world, over 3 billion people use simple stoves or open fires to cook or heat their homes. These methods are inefficient and can lead to the generation of pollutants like particulate matter, which can result in concentrations indoors of up to 100 times more than that of the outdoor air. Other sources include tobacco smoke, chemicals released from building materials, furnishings, and household products, pesticides, asbestos-containing insulation, and products used for household cleaning. Factors like inadequate ventilation and, in some cases, heat and humidity can worsen indoor air pollution. Exposure to indoor air pollution can lead to health effects similar to those caused by outdoor air pollution. In 2012, the World Health Organization estimated that 4.3 million people died due to illness that could be attributed to household air pollution caused by the use of solid fuel. There are several ways to reduce indoor air pollution, including controlling it at the source. This includes actions like changing from solid fuels to cleaner and more energy-efficient solutions like biogas, electricity, or solar power, improving cooking devices, and reducing the need for open fire heating by constructing energy-efficient housing. Making improvements to the indoor environment. This may include increasing ventilation through windows or chimneys, or other design features like having the kitchen separate from the house. Behavioral changes like properly maintaining stoves and chimneys can reduce the accumulation of pollutants. Exposure to indoor pollution can also be reduced with actions such as using pot lids to conserve heat and minimize cooking time. So that's a look at air pollution, an important public health issue. We've had a look at outdoor air pollution, different types of pollutants and their sources, ways to reduce pollution, and how air quality is monitored. We've also talked about indoor air pollution, why it's a problem, sources of pollution, and ways to reduce it.
Okay, so he's covered a lot. That's a big mouthful. And what you also need to keep in mind is there's always going to be, with all of these, there's always going to be a point that we look at, what can we do? Okay, we looked at with land pollution, water pollution, what can we do? So there's going to be also the question on this one as well. What can we do? All right, so he mentioned, and he got a lot of initials too. So make sure you go through and click on all of these little gadgets here so that we're looking at all the different types of air pollutions. So nitrogen oxides, which is abbreviated NO or NO2. So, and there's a lot of abbreviations with this unit too. So we might just have a little quiz on Wednesday to kind of match up what all these abbreviations mean. So make sure you look at your vocabulary. But as you can see, NO2 is not something that we really want in our atmosphere, and they can contribute to acid rain. So anytime gases, certain gases, dissolve with water, they create an acid.
Take a look at this strange device that I'm holding in my hand.
I didn't turn off
It's
my
smaller
video.
than a quarter,
Give me 1
but
second.
I believe it's going to power Elon Musk's next AI revolution.
Let me just make it go away. Okay, back to you. All righty. Okay, so again, a lot of these gases, same thing with this one. we need carbon dioxide to keep us warm. It is the thing, I think we talked about this earlier in the year, where yeah, you didn't want to hear about Elon Musk. He's another story altogether. Carbon dioxide is a good thing, but carbon monoxide is not a good thing. So so know the difference between carbon monoxide means that there's one oxygen, and carbon dioxide is two oxygens. And you can't tell the difference between them, except one we need and the other one will kill us. But they are both greenhouse gases, and they're in the atmosphere. Too much of anything is a bad thing. We talked about carbon dioxide is what makes our planet warm, but too much carbon dioxide is making it too warm. So we're having the effects of global warming because of all of the pollutants and things that we're adding to the atmosphere. So that's yes, well, not really, because you need carbon. You exhale carbon dioxide all the time. It's a waste product. So carbon dioxide poisoning is not something that you worry about. Okay, it's carbon monoxide poisoning, because what happens when you inhale that, your body doesn't know what to do with it, because your body actually it will take it on. The issue with carbon monoxide is your body will pick it up instead of the carbon dioxide, and it'll suffocate you, because you're supposed to be is part of the respiratory cycle. So carbon monoxide will cause suffocation, whereas carbon dioxide is just a waste product, and you'll exhale it with no problem. All right. Sulfur dioxide. I think you might have heard of sulfur in your acid rain. So once again, with any of these gases get into the atmosphere and mix with water, we end up with acidic rain. Ozone. We looked at, there are certain layers of the atmosphere ozone. We need an ozone layer, but then there's ground level ozone. So we're going to talk about the difference between ground level ozone and the ozone that's in the atmosphere. There's a difference. There's a big difference. One is good for you, the other one is bad. So we will make a distinction about that. And the smog that you see that is ground level, that's bad ozone. So we don't want that. The good ozone is blocking out the ultraviolet light rays of the sun, so we want that one. All right, VOCs. So here comes another abbreviation that you need to make sure that you're familiar with. Volatile organic compounds. That's what VOC stands for. And they are mostly hydrocarbons. And what they mean by hydrocarbons, they come from burning fossil fuels. Okay. All right. So, and lately we're starting to use methane as a gas that we're burning. So we have to be careful about that. Chlorofluorocarbons are something that they used to be in aerosol cans. So they've changed. They've kind of banned aerosol cans, and now you have spray cans. There are a few aerosol cans left, but they've changed the chemicals that are in aerosol cans, because that chemical that they used to have is what was causing a lot of problems with the ozone layer. All right, the good ozone layer. So these fluorocarbons, we're putting holes in the good layer that we need. So if we have holes in that, then it can't block the sun's light. That's a problem. So we don't want that. So again, what do? We have to know these things so we can stop doing them and preserve our environment. All right. Dioxins are chemicals that are they are made, but their purpose is harmful to humans and other organisms. It's mostly, we're going to look at this one too. They're in the materials that they make our water bottles with. And so some of the things, leaving the water bottle in the sunlight is not a good thing, because these dioxins will actually dissolve into your water. So we're going to talk about dioxins. particulate matter. So when you see the initials PM, you need to know that those are particulate matter. And those are the things that cause smog. Those are bad for those of you who have asthma. And poor breathing can lead to heart disease and other types of cancer, depending on the particulate matter. Lead gets in the is in the fuel. So now we have unleaded gas, but this used to be a problem with the gasoline. So when you burn the oil in your car, this used to put lead in the atmosphere. So now when you see at the gas station we have unleaded gas, that's why, because they noticed that it was a problem in the atmosphere. Photochemical smog is caused by all of these lovely things. And notice car exhaust, okay? Everybody wants to have their own car. So this is why when we look at air pollution, we're going to talk a lot about carpooling and ways to, reduce the amount of car exhaust. Okay. And then we have two types of pollution, primary and secondary. So you need to know what those are. All right. Some pollutants are natural, such as volcanic ash and dust created by humans. Like when you kick agriculture, you dig up the field if the ground is very dry and you're plowing the field, you get a lot of dust and that gets in the air. Those are and direct emissions from our cars and smokestacks. Those are primary. Now, what happens with secondary pollution is when these pollutants combine with other pollutants and they form a second pollutant, okay, such as ozone 3. Okay, we have ozone is like I said, there's a layer of ozone in the atmosphere that we want. And then when we get these pollutants, they form a different type of ozone, which we'll talk about as ground level ozone that will go up and destroy the other ozone layer. And then we have the two acids that get in and they combine and they make a different particulate matter combines with something else. So all of these things are made from a combination of other pollutants coming together to make a second type of pollution. Okay, so know the difference between primary and secondary air pollution. Okay, air quality. If you watch the news, some of y'all don't watch the news, but especially this time of year, as we're going into pollen season, they always have the air quality index up on the screen, and they tell you whether it's a good day to go outside or a bad day to go outside, especially for people who have asthma. So we're very concerned with the air quality index. And again, big cities tend to have air quality index issues because of pollution. We have a lot of cars. Some places have a lot of factories, so the air quality index is important. Let's look at this one.
To research how biomass burning in Africa impacts the Earth's atmosphere, a group of scientists took their highly sensitive measurement equipment and traveled from Germany to the Cape Verde Islands, downwind of Central Africa. For 4 weeks, the Atlantic island of Sal was home to around 40 researchers. One of them was Ivan from Mainz. Although Sal attracts tourists, the 26-year-old scientist did not spend his time on the beach. His workplace was the hangar of the local airport, as well as an aircraft. His measuring device was part of a comprehensive payload that was mounted in the research aircraft Halo.
The project is called CAFE. It's part of my PhD thesis where we are quantifying trace gases and particle distributions in the troposphere, upper troposphere, lower stratosphere. with a set of 20 instruments aboard, and what I'm doing is I'm supervising NOx measurements. NOx is NO and NO2 on board this HALO aircraft to quantify biomass burning effects in the upper troposphere, lower stratosphere, to tune model simulation calculations of NOx.
Ivan was part of the CAFE Africa team. CAFE Africa is an abbreviation for Chemistry of the Atmosphere Field Experiment in Africa, a mission coordinated by the Max Planck Institute for Chemistry. Some of the scientists and support staff included colleagues of the German Aerospace Center, the University of Wuppertal and the University of Heidelberg.
Africa is a big continent and there is a lot of action. There is biomass burning from forest fires and savanna fires. There is a lot of dust coming out of Africa and the pollution sources are growing tremendously, like in Nigeria and other countries. And we want to know in CAFE Africa how these pollutants are being mixed and transported by the African monsoon and are then redistributed on a global scale.
The scientists used the aircraft HALO, which is equipped to measure many gases and particles and has different inlets to channel the undisturbed air into the measurement instrumentation on board HALO. HALO stands for High Altitude Long Range Research Aircraft.
HALO is a Gulfstream 550.
HALO is a Gulfstream 450 aircraft that has been chosen because it can fly very long and high, which is of crucial importance for today's climate research. Furthermore, a lot of changes have been made in the aircraft's construction. For instance, a lot of holes in which air inlets can be screwed. The inlets deliver air samples into the cabin, where analytic devices control the substances.
Die Inhaltsstoffe kontrollieren.
We expect that especially from the biomass burning, which is on a very large scale in Africa, there's a lot of organics being released into the atmosphere. And these organics can be measured as gases and partly also as particles. So we measure the entire spectrum of gases and particles.
So we're operating a set of 20 measurements aboard HALO, and apart from the fact that measurement flights can take up to 10 hours, it's very loud, noisy inside this aircraft, and all these facts come together to make the complexity of the flight to operator and instrument.
While Ivan and 3 colleagues flew over the Atlantic, he maintained contact with the other scientists on the ground, who received data directly via satellite. This also allowed them to discuss solutions when a device did not operate optimally.
During one measurement flight, we encountered highly elevated NOx values beside cumulonimbus clouds, and we had this NOx coming out from these clouds, and it was pretty interesting because this NOx event we were detecting the NOx for roughly 1 hour.
In total, the scientists flew 16 times from Celle in the direction of the African coast and out over the Atlantic. The data analysis will take several months. The unique measurement data will help investigate how air pollution, dust from the Sahara, and biomass burning emissions affect the atmosphere and our climate. Another thing is certain at this stage. Ivan will also take part in the second part of the mission that will take place in 2020. Then the HALO aircraft will bring the Mainz-based scientists to South America in the CAFE Brazil campaign. There is little doubt that Ivan will not forget the exciting flights with HALO over Africa.
Okay. All right. Somebody put in the chat that they didn't know acid rain was a real thing. Yeah, it's a real thing. It's a real thing. All right. So so I mentioned that there is actually a scale that and we'll look at that later, that they actually measure air quality on. So, and it's color coded. So we'll look at that later. But because people don't do what they should do and people burn things that they shouldn't burn, we actually have to legalize what we should do and what we shouldn't do. So there's a clear Clean Air Act. And we have a Clean Water Act, Clean Air Act, because we have to, people don't do things unless there's a law and they can get in trouble for doing what they're doing. So you need to know what the Clean Air Act is. So read that over. Okay. And look at, and I was looking, see, we're not so bad. We're not on this list of the smoggiest cities, although it depends on when they did this in 2018. I remember a time when we were on the list. The Atlanta area was on the list, so um, not high on the list, but we were on the list. Okay. All right, so read over this page, give you the rest of the time to read this over, and then work on the air pollution challenge. Okay. All right, Wednesday we'll have an activity on air pollution to do. But take the time again to read over. It's a lot of information on this page, a lot of vocabulary words. Take notes. Again, know the difference between secondary and primary and secondary pollution, and what all of these types of air pollution are. Again, there's a lot of vocabulary on this. All right, so reread and then do the what is air pollution challenge. Okay. All right, there's that scale I was telling you about. So we'll get to that next. All right, also at this time, I'm going to stop sharing. If you haven't turned in any of the other assignments, they are late as of today and will be marked as late. Okay. All right, so again, we are all rereading the page, taking note of the vocabulary, and doing the air pollution challenge. Good. Excellent, excellent. And like I said, folks, on Wednesday, I might have a little matching vocabulary quiz. So do look at your vocabulary, look at your initials on things. Like I said, this unit has a lot of initials. All right, looking at the grade book, a lot of you still have not done your air quality of after the LA fire, so please make sure that you get that in. Got a lot of zeros on both how the human activity affects the river. And we might want to. Okay, let me come back and look at. Yes, Jayla, you've done both activities, so thank you so much. The folks, remember this semester we're going to try not to have a lot of back work to do. I don't want to have to do. Like I said, if things are late, I'm just going to mark let Canvas mark it late. So I'm not going to adjust it like I did the last time. So make sure that you are turning yourself stuff in on a time limit, because Canvas puts in zeros after the due date is gone. Yes, I think you did. Let me check. Give me a sec. Yes, you did both. All right, might as well just give kudos. Aiden did both. Andre did both. Imani did both. Jayla Marshall did both. Alana did one. Liliana did both, and Janila did both. All right, so there's a lot of you that did neither one. And while it hasn't put zeros in the LA fire yet, they're going in today. So if you haven't done the LA fire article, that's just read the article and write down 5 facts from the article. That's not that hard to do. So stop what you're doing now and do that. Let's get that grade in. Okay, let me pull this up. All right. Like I said, if you have not read this article. If you had trouble downloading the article for some reason, it was just read this article. All right. The location in California is Eatonton and Palisades. That's the name of the city areas. Altadena was another area. You're just reading the article and writing down 5 things that you learned from the article. In the same way somebody just thought that acid rain was made up thing. Read the article. Read the article. Take you a few minutes to read the article and write things down. A lot of things in the article are things that we're going to be talking about with this unit. So if you have not done that, stop what you're doing now so that you don't get a late grade for this, and read the article. And all you had to do with that was to read the article and state 5 facts that you learned in connection with air pollution due to the fires. That's all you had to do. So let's get it done.